Hey, yo.
Hey, guys, what's up? Happy
Operation
Friday.
Hustle, the #1 podcast in the world.
Okay, that's a little bit of a stretch
It's
here.
not played out, dude. I'm going to keep saying it until it happens. So
Claim it, and it
Claim
shall
it.
happen.
We're going to go with a reversed roles podcast today. So we're going to be talking about the employer mindset and the employee mindset, or a
When
boss
the roles
and an
are
employee.
reversed.
I'd like to start out with a quote. I got it from Jim Quick. I don't know if he stole it from someone else, but that's how quotes work. You steal them and make them your own, kind of. It's how you do one thing is how you do all things. So to put it as an example, I guess, like we'll say maybe you wake up late. Oh my goodness, how many people do this? Alejandro, could you maybe? So if you wake up late, right, you might show up to work late. You may be like your calls that you scheduled late. Other things are
Well,
late.
let's maybe
It's
clarify
simple.
this.
It's
This isn't
simple.
just a one time if you wake up late, because people learn from lessons. This is like if you're a habitual late, sleeper, right? Then chances are, then everything else time wise is going to have no value to you.
Yeah.
Time is going to have no value. So you're just going to show up late, to, like he said, phone calls and other things. People make mistakes. You're going to show up late maybe once, twice in your life. Or
majority, if
at a
you have
job.
like an a-hole mentality, right, you're pretty much an a-hole.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. I have actually a really good example that leads into that saying, or that
here we
quote
go.
that you brought up. So, specifically last night, I did not want to go for a swim. It was like 68 degrees outside.
I really thought you were going to
It
skip
was
that.
raining.
And so he illegally
what?
swam.
I really thought you were going to skip that. I was like, maybe he's going to
He
get home. and-
swam at his
No,
apartment.
I was thinking about it, and then I realized I was like looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, if you skip out on this, you're a fucking bitch. Why? Like, how are you gonna
That's
step
self-talk,
into the
guys.
ring and fight some motherfucker? Like, you want to go and fight
Speaking
some
of which-
motherfucker? You better be able to jump in this cold ass fucking pool. And I did, and I feel like I almost died. I almost
And
got
he hopped his
hypothermia.
ass right out.
It was cold as fuck. My skin went
February?
numb. I couldn't move my limbs. It was fun though.
February
It's worth it.
26th is the tentative date for Alex fight. So we will keep
Oh.
updating when that is for anybody that wants to come.
Yeah, someone's
so-
getting knocked out. We just don't know who.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Ali's opponent.
We'll find out.
We can't wait.
Oh, dude,
So,
the crutches guy.
anyways, what we're going to lead this into is just like how that mindset changes. Like Justin and I were employees at one point in time, and how like that whole perspective for us has changed. The gratitude that we've received, and just becoming the business owner and being the person, that's in that hot seat and having to make quick decisions, and be under a lot of stress.
I think the mindset changes a lot.
Oh yeah.
A whole lot.
I think Ali, he has been with us in the trenches since day one, and I'm sure he can probably attest to how.
Oh, day one at the new building.
Well, yeah, at the new building, but still, I mean, he's even said to us he's seen how things have changed, and just with us and how we've changed, and since being in that little studio to now and having a grown team. And so I kind of want to get his perspective on that. So, what have you seen that's changed or that had to change to go along with the bigger gym and the more, the bigger team and the more stress?
Specifically, it's more so just what your responsibilities are. They change. You've got a newer, bigger gym. Clearly, things are going to change. You start getting more employees. You have to start looking at bigger pictures and bigger pictures. Clearly, the flow of business is something that you're going to have to focus on streamlining, just due to the fact that you have more mouths to feed. So you're going to have to make sure that your system for acquiring leads and making sure that you're
Thank
bringing
you,
in
IPD
constant business
agency.
is going to
Quick
be.
little plug in there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
where we do the podcast, people.
So I mean, you just increased your flow. It's essentially you took managing a stream and you turned it into managing like a small river.
Yeah.
It's turning
that.
into a pretty big river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
stressful.
and one of the things I was thinking about is just like how, like, when I was an employee, like, I couldn't wait to get home. Like, I couldn't wait to finish. Like, I'm going to talk about Subway. So, like, when I was like 16, I worked at two different jobs, Subway and Rite Aid. And like, I would love to be a pre-closer, which is the person that does the pre-closing list before the closer, and the closer has the most amount of responsibilities. Sucked. But so anyways, just being at that job, like I never got to pick whether or not I was a pre-closer. Like I was just given shifts. And I just feel like in society now, we've become such entitled human beings. I mean, we all find ourselves to be worth so much more value, and like, you should think of yourself as a valuable asset, but not to a point in which you think you're more valuable than the person that's enduring all the stress to pave the way for your success. So back then, here I am just being 16 thinking like, oh, is she ever going to give me any pre-closing shifts? But like they needed a closer and I was good at it and they filled that spot, so it did nothing to do with what I thought I was entitled to. It had to do with my skill, and due to the fact that I literally lived up the road and it made the most sense for the business and for the team.
Yeah.
And it was a team-based environment, right? So that's
and you're making like like $8.
Right. I was literally
hour.
making like $8 an hour, 17 years old, closing this entire shop up at 11 o'clock at night and then walking up the hill in the dark. Like, I mean, I couldn't even believe they gave this much responsibility to a 17-year-old girl. Like, it's insane when you think about it.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would deserve more than, I think I was getting paid $8 an hour. And then I would get some dollar bills that people put in the little box, like as they came and cashed out. But, I'm grateful for the opportunity because it really showed me that it humbled me down that I am not above bathrooms. I am not above cleaning, mopping, sweeping, none of that. And just being the business owner, and being here with my, contractor, that I'm not above bathrooms either. Just because I work in the trenches with you, like I don't expect that you guys are going to clean the bathroom every single night. We're going to get different jobs. We're going to share the jobs. Sometimes it's just like it happens to be one person might get the turf all the time just because it's still being used. But like I try my best to make sure that they understand that I don't think that I'm above them, in the sense of humbling myself down when it comes to cleaning jobs and sharing the responsibility, because I think that's important as a business owner. But I think it's also important as an employee to understand this as well. That at the end of the day, even though I'm enduring all the stress for them so they don't have to endure that, like I still humble myself down and think that I'm not above a bathroom. So if I'm not above a bathroom, you're not above a bathroom. So
for sure,
that's what I learned as far as myself and the roles being reversed. I didn't think I was then, but sure did it suck. Did I complain a whole lot when I was 17 years old, closing an entire Subway by myself and then having to take orders as they came in.
Yeah.
So stopping what I was doing, I might have been in the process of putting some of the food away and a last minute order came in.
So I'm the oldest person at this table, unfortunately. Yeah. And I've had probably more jobs than both of you.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe combined.
Probably.
I'm old. So that's what happens. But so I started working when I was 15 years old because we were poor and we couldn't afford shit and I wanted a cell phone. So my parents told me, if you want a cell phone, you will work. Guess who worked on the weekends while everybody went and had fun and played? Your boy. So this continued throughout my whole high school career. I ended up leaving that job. I moved, whatever. Ended up at the pizzeria. The pizzeria, I'd work Friday nights till 11, Saturday nights till 11. Everybody's out partying, having fun. I don't dictate my schedule, but I need money, so I'm going to work. This is where I believe I developed the work ethic. Then I eventually left there, got a steadier job, higher paying job, 9 to 5. 5 days a week, sometimes Saturdays. Never complained about the Saturdays when they happened. Because it's work. It's what it is. You fucking go there, they pay you, you fulfill your fucking job. That is it. Awesome. So I eventually leave that job after 5-6 years. I go down, move here, work at Crunch. I'm not going to say much about that. Then I end up at LA Fitness. Awesome job. Not the greatest pay, not the greatest environment. I had a lot of fun doing it, met a lot of cool people. At that time, I wanted to become what we are now, our gym. Every trainer has a dream of opening their own gym, doing their own thing. That's awesome. At that time, when I was in the employee mindset, I thought I had everything figured out. This is easy. They're robbing me. They're slighting me, and I can do it better. And it's not always the case.
No.
And not everyone is built to own and operate a business.
And that's okay.
And that's fine. Yeah. Not everyone's made for it. And I don't even suggest it.
It is
stress.
extreme amount of stress.
So, but I love what I do and I wouldn't change it. But it's definitely not for anybody. And I noticed all the other trainers had the same dream. The difference was I pursued it, we made it work, and we continued to do it. And I'm not saying none of you can do it. You can't do it. You can.
What I've said over and over to plenty
everybody.
of people, though, is that I wouldn't be able to do it without Justin, and I know he feels the same way.
I wouldn't have did it if it wasn't for her, because I would be still working at LA Fitness 100%.
It takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of stress. You have to be the type of person to be able to let shit go. And in the beginning, that was very hard for me. And I'm finally at a place where I can, but it takes many years of that. It almost can destroy relationships if you're in one. Unless you're on the same page, you're on the same mindset. So this isn't all 100%. Flowers and cake. So if you think that's an entitled mindset. You are a valuable asset to whatever company you work for. But remember that the person at the very top is not on, some Disney cruise. It's an immense amount of stress. And if it wasn't for them handling the stress that them enduring the stress and paving the way for success for you, you wouldn't even have that opportunity. And then I started thinking about just simple stuff like, I'll give you a perfect example. So in college, I then worked at a taxi dispatcher place. And I felt like I was on top of the world. I was the first youngest female to be able to be given an opportunity to be a taxi dispatcher where there's 3 different screens. And I was 19 years old running 3 different screens, bossing around 40-year-old men, telling them where to go. Then they would come in for their check and they'd be like, "It's you?" And I'm like, "Yep." And then they'd be like, "How old are you?" And I would tell them and they'd be like embarrassed. And they walk out with like the tail between their legs because they, in their mind, thought that they shouldn't be being bossed around by a 19-year-old girl. And then I also phone operated because they still needed that. And I did the taxi dispatching 1 day a week at this point in time because I was still learning the game. A girl had called out and they had asked me to cover the shift. And I said, "No, I have plans tonight. I had a plan to go to a party." I'll never forget this. And they ended up letting me go the next day because they needed me to act as a team member. And, they had the right to let me go. And I said no to covering the shift, although it wasn't my shift. And it's, in my mind at the time, I thought it was wrong. As a business owner now with a business owner mindset, I understand fully as to why I was let go that night. They needed me to act as a team member for 1 shift. And I decided not to and go to a party instead after I was already given the responsibilities and opportunity and privilege to even be a taxi dispatcher making more money on one of those days a week. So in their mind, I was acting entitled and taking advantage. And I get that now. And, even another example, I worked at a mortgage company and I see he still looks at my stuff now. So Mike, if you're listening to this is my apology to you. I had showed up late a few times. And it is. And he had to talk to me about it. And at the time, I was just like, it's 5 fucking minutes. Like, what does it even matter? It matters because that's not what he signed up for. And he shouldn't have even had been dealing with that when he was already dealing with an immense amount of stress. And so, now looking back on that, I'm like, just seeing how different my mindset has changed. It makes me have a greater respect for the people out there in the game that have provided me this pathway to where I'm at now. Because I've learned an experience with each employer, and I have learned many lessons with each employer. And it has humbled me down to a place that I'm very, very grateful and thankful for.
Yeah, 100%. We also know other business owners that go through the same struggles we do. It helps knowing other business owners because they have similar ground and things going on. But until you own a business, you really don't know what it takes and what you actually have to do. Like I said, it's not made for everyone. And if you are thinking of doing it, that's awesome. And you should pursue it. But just know that it doesn't end and vacations don't happen. Our vacation this year, while we're on vacation, okay, I call this working from a different area because it never stops. The payments don't stop. The employees don't stop calling you. You're going to have client problems or whatever business you're in, that shit don't stop. And if it does, it's not going to be that successful.
I literally applaud her hustle right? But at the time we had just hired Caitlin, and the time change, I don't think she really understood like right at first what the time change was. But she had called me for a sale at 3 a.m. and I picked up the phone. That's a boss that
Hustling,
wants to
baby.
help you.
Up in
I picked up
Hawaii.
at 3 a.m. and ran that sale through. Okay. Because I care
That's
about my
right.
employees and I understand the hustle, and I want them to know that I don't think I'm above them just because I'm on vacation. Because if I want you to succeed, that means I have to pick up at 3 a.m. So that's what it
Yeah.
took.
The hustle never stops when you're an owner. That's for effing show.
Yeah.
Alejandro, any thoughts on any of the stuff we're talking about?
Do you see the hustle? What do you see in us that, maybe is a different perspective from what we're seeing?
Because you're technically an employee. So what feedback do you have on that? Because I was an employee too at one time for many different places, and my mindset has shifted a lot. I was a little fuckboy for a little bit.
Yeah, it's all about the struggle that you choose.
Yeah.
That's the struggle you've chosen,
Yeah.
and you're handling it well from what I can see.
I
As
appreciate
far
that.
as as far as like any
Teacher's
sort of,
pet, as Diego would say.
I mean, if
Yeah,
that's
like a
teacher's pet, that's like minimal level. Like you're doing well.
You're doing okay. I could
Yeah.
probably do better, but you're doing all right.
But yeah, I mean, there's not much else to be said.
Yeah.
You found your journey, you found your path, and now you're here.
Well,
you're doing it.
for sure.
even just with what you're doing with fighting, that comes with the stress, and you chose that stress. And I think that's a good little way to dive into like what you're doing. Like not many people can be a fighter. I know I couldn't. I could not handle that training. I could not
It
handle that
looks cool.
stress.
I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stress on the body, mentally, physically draining,
Mhm.
and you got to get up in front of people and fight someone else.
Takes a lot
Yeah.
of humility.
Well, this is very similar to like what you guys are doing because it's
Yeah.
it's the struggle I chose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally just the maximum level of stress that I could find because I wanted to find it
Yeah.
and make myself better through it.
Yeah.
That's what I chose. I wanted to suffer in order to become better, in order to become more grateful, and in order to pursue my truest potential, because I don't think that you actually get access to your greatest potential until you put yourself through your greatest struggle.
I love
100%.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in doing that and choosing that greatest struggle, has that changed your mindset, working for someone else, or has that changed your mindset, even providing a service, but also paying for a service?
In a way, the way that it changed my mindset specifically is nothing is hard. It's just a choice.
Yeah.
Nothing is
I agree.
really hard. It's just a choice. Like, I mean, you can argue semantics on the word, but if you can feel the vibe that I'm putting out here, it's a little different. Like, it's not
Yeah.
exactly to what those words mean. It's more so I think that people are far more capable of things than they realize.
Yeah.
It takes a shit ton of effort.
What's the mental barrier too?
I'm actually really glad you brought this point up, because let's now relate this to the business and to what we do and what we deal with the clients. A lot of clients really truly think that this is mental, and a lot of it is, right? But they'll literally equate their unsuccess to the fact that they just can't do it. It's all in my mind. It's just, I can't do it. It is a choice.
Yeah.
You have always two choices, two pathways, right? With every decision that comes your way, you can choose to use the tools that were given to you to find success, whether, that's weight loss, right? If you choose to, come aboard with us, or put on muscle, or get on the stage and do a show, or fight, right? Or you could choose to not.
Yeah,
You
it's all
know what I mean?
choices, for sure.
Choosing different things to blame it on will never get you to the solution or the pathway that you want to be at. It's
Yeah.
just only going to slow it down more.
Yeah, and a lot of that is like the balance between flexibility and inflexibility.
Yeah.
You have to be inflexible on your goals and what you're willing to accept. And then you have to be flexible enough to, find the curves in the path that are going to lead you to those. Because a lot of the times, like, something I hear all the time is like, oh, I caved in, I gave into my cravings, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. I
We
had to
heard
have
it out
piece
there
of
in that
chocolate.
office right there. They were just talking.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
it.
But I mean, like, a lot of this shit is you literally just have to wait to the next day.
Yeah.
But they forget, because in that moment, their perspective is, oh, this singular task, which is like very similar to what an employee does.
Yeah.
You give them one task, they complete it, and they bring your business money.
Yeah.
What an employer does is they look at all the tasks, everything that's going to go into that, and that makes it possible for that to be the job.
Yeah.
So when you can change your own mindset, like, not even just from like a business perspective, but into like what your life is. If you were the boss of your own life, you've got to measure out every variable and then make sure that they're in line. So that way, at the end of the day, you can achieve the goals that you set for yourself. And you got to like, that's just what it means to be able to like be versatile in those moments and understand that like, okay, I'm not going to make it to the goal going this singular route. I'm going to have to fucking divert and take the way that most people don't.
Yeah, I actually love that
100%.
you said it in that way. I might not make it to this or in the singular way, because here's this, here's a really good point I think I want to make for everybody who's listening right now. That's not to say that Alejandro, Justin, and I, or any, or Caitlin or Phil, that we don't all at one point in time in our life go through a struggle where like, we want to get something done so badly and we're struggling with something. I'm going to do something stupid. Like, oh, we want to organize our house and it just never gets done. We've gone through struggles too, but that's because we thought that one singular pathway might get us there. And sometimes it takes us, a few different, solutions to figure out the right one to really be successful at whatever we're trying to do. And Alejandro may have experienced that with just fighting. Like he may have been like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do this, this, and this. And maybe it was like a training regimen, and maybe you had to refigure that out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty.
There's always going to be
Shit
adaptations.
tons.
Adaptations is the word. That's the key word.
And
Adaptations.
humans,
Yeah,
as a human being, we are the most adaptable creature.
We can adapt
on
to
the
anything.
Planet.
We're very resilient, and even children are resilient too. And I just think that if we really work on our adaptability.
Adaptivity.
There we
Yeah,
go.
you're talking to me. That's okay.
Wow, I can't even speak today.
I said it right once, and that's
Your
all you're getting.
flexibility and inflexibility, and really look at those, and maybe like Alejandro said, I think that's a really good piece of advice. Like write down like what you're flexible. Your goals can't be flexible, but like what you are flexible in that will help you better achieve those goals. And if you haven't tried that in the past, and you're somebody that's struggling with weight loss, maybe you should write that down. Like, is your kid's sports an inflexible thing? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So how am I going to work this around that? Does that mean because my kids' sports are inflexible and that's in the evening, I'm going to have to sacrifice sleep, get to bed earlier, and make sure I get to that session at 5 a.m. instead of 7 p.m.
Certain sacrifices, for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And also like just not only analyzing like internal flexibility, but what's the external flexibility? What are the things in your life that can move around? Abby and Justin have talked about this plenty whenever it comes to like planning out your meals and stuff, but like your day moves, your hours go away. So like you can outlast them. If you have a craving, you can outlast it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't designed to eat every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were like hunter gatherers and eating like every 3
So I
fucking
read
days.
this in this book, right? It's called it's a pretty good book. So if you haven't read it, maybe pick it up and read it. But I have this app called Headway that shows me little books, 15 minutes of each, because that's what I've agreed to that I can handle is 15 minutes. But it's called Anti-Fragility. And so in the book, it talks about just how if a house was made out of plywood and another house was made out of brick, which one do you think is going to sustain itself longer? The one that's made out of brick. Right, through a storm. So you need to use that example and look at your life. Like, are you built as a plywood house right now, or are you built as a brick house right now?
She's a brick.
Wow.
I always ruin the
That's,
lyrics.
what is that, Rick James? I think.
What are you trying to say, Ollie?
Rick
I'm a
James,
brick
bitch.
house. But really, like right now, the way you're living your life, are you being too rigid on things that actually could be flexible? And is that making you a plywood house? Are you not achieving your goals because you're a plywood house? Every time a storm comes, you get tempted, you cave in, and you have the McDonald's. Or are you a brick house and you have 5 different tools in your toolbox to help you get through that?
Boom.
I'm telling you, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life is gotten sober. 90 days straight, I got on my knees and asked God to take the desire away from me. Don't you think I wanted to have a drink? Okay.
Drinky.
Right. Exactly. It
Yeah.
took me 90 days. It was the hardest thing I ever done in my life, but it actually helps me really get into the minds and psyche of people who are dealing with and struggling with weight loss and cutting sugars out and stuff like that. But as ancient people, we were never designed, really take this in, to run off fast food, simple sugars, processed foods, all of that. The only thing that we were designed to do once we put on this earth was to run off natural foods, lean meats, grains, vegetables that we can grow. Like that stuff wasn't around then when we were ancient people. So what makes you think that we've evolved to now run off fast food? We haven't evolved. That's why there's obesity in this world. And that's why that's such a
the
hard
fast food environment. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We got reliant. It's okay. We
adapted,
weakened ourselves.
but we weren't designed. Remember that. We
Yes,
adapted,
I
but we
know.
weren't designed.
We
Yeah.
were designed to adapt, so we
But-
adapted to our surrounding. Unfortunately, it's fucking McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, a
Chick-fil-A
little
is amazing, by the way.
little bit of an opposing opinion here. So I like we've adapted. So whatchamacallit?
Well,
Actually,
our
it's not
ancestors
even that
adapted, and
opposing.
we were thrown into this mess.
Yeah,
Right,
but
let
so
him
look
finish
at
his
this.
point.
So people adapt. Like, how do your senses work? They operate based off of changes in your environment. So hot eventually becomes normal. Cold eventually becomes normal.
Yeah.
Even taste becomes like you eat something, you eat fucking a piece of chocolate, and then you try coffee right after.
Yeah.
That coffee's bitter as fuck.
Yeah.
So you're literally like the way that you're hardwired with your senses are based on changes in your environment. So any change to your environment, whether or not that environment has been like manufactured like today's or not, are perceived as more substantial in the initial change.
Yeah.
Once you get used to it, it gets much easier. That's just how people are designed.
Yeah.
So I think that plays like a really integral role in understanding and developing past the point of that initial shock factor.
Yeah.
Because it will eventually just be.
So we have
the
clients
normal.
all the time that tell us like they don't know if they can do this. They don't know if they can, stop eating fast food or processed foods or, simple sugars and stuff like that. And we're like, okay, but have you given 100%? Actually, Justin had this conversation with a client recently and she said no. And he said, okay, so can you really say that it's all in your mind if you never once gave it your all? I mean, not even for 7 days.
100, not even. Did you even give it fucking 80%? Because if you didn't give it 80 and nothing happened, if you didn't give it 100, nothing happened. You didn't do it.
How would you
You
know
can't
that
sit
it's
here and
not
tell me.
working if you never gave it anywhere between 70 to 100?
So I got a question. What do you do like whenever you're trying to PR? You normally don't go with a spotter, right?
Yeah, so I call this life or death.
That's 100%.
And I wouldn't really recommend it. But for myself, personally, I'm a trained professional. Can things happen? Yes. Will it be recorded? Of course it will. And that may be my viral breakthrough is when I die on that bench press. But I always get that
Lord.
fucking weight up.
Yeah.
Every time I do it.
I mean, I can actually say I've done this a couple times myself with squats. Like I was unsure if I could pull this weight. I didn't ask for a spot because I didn't want to. And it's my ego. But anyway, so I was like, I'm going to do it. So when I was down there, I was like, I have no choice but to press this up right now. So in a squat, with a back that I've had previous injury with. So that definitely is a scary moment there. But again, don't recommend it. But, you put yourself in a situation, it's that flight or fight moment. It's that life or death. And sometimes I don't think people place that urgency on these situations that need to change in their life. If you are somebody that is overweight, you need to tell yourself on a daily and maybe even put on post-it notes, I will die if I continue like this.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to change it.
For people is most people say they don't have enough energy, right? If work, your job, the thing that pays for everything, tells you, bitch, you're working another 2 hours this week. Guess who's going to work the 2 hours? You. Apply that to your fucking workouts. Like, just do it. Get it over with. You have the energy. You're telling yourself you don't have the energy. Unless you're like physically so drained you can't even move, you can go for a walk. You could pick up a jump rope. A workout does not have to be an hour, people. It can be 10 minutes. Get up, and usually the 10 minutes will turn into the hour. It's starting the workout. It's not doing the workout.
Yeah,
to be honest.
And I do want to touch base on like what life and death is, because so many people have this misconception that life and death is life in all of its eternity and death in all of its eternity. But every day, like another piece of you dies. Like if you are not capitalizing on the moment, if you aren't living up to the potential in that moment, guess what just died? What you could have been.
Your creativity.
For sure.
Yeah,
Exactly. 100%.
I was
So, I
just giving
mean,
an example.
That's a good wrap up,
Yeah.
dude. Look at this.
Love
Death
this.
happens
My
every
man
day.
Ali speaking truth today.
Right.
And he's
Ali
wearing
San.
normal clothes for once.
Bye,
Anyway,
guys. We'll
check
see you
out our
next Friday.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all them
Facebook
bullshit
is Abs
fucking
Fitness
sites.
LLC. Instagram is Abs Fitness _Brandon Florida. YouTube is Abs Fitness
Film
Film
House.
House. And TikTok is.
Abs Fitness Tampa.
All
Check us
right.
out. Check out our
Peace.
website, www.absfitnesstrainer.com. Online personal training, in-person personal training, and savagery and podcasting. That's it.
Bye,
That's all I got to
guys.
say, people. Turn me out.